Hey guys, today I'm going to give you an introduction to needle felting, which is how I created this work of art. Now there's many different ways to felt, and I'm going to show you a few today. Here's another example of something that I used by needle felting. I took a flat sheet of wool and I needle felted the designs on and glued it onto a pencil box. Let's first talk about tools and materials. You're going to need a felting pad. This is your surface where you're going to felt all your designs onto. I have two different sizes, a 12 by 12 and an 8 by 4. The white one is a thick, high-density foam, whereas the black one is a squishier, thinner one. Next, you'll need a needle and a needle holder if you prefer. The needle has microscopic hooks at the end of it, which actually hook the wool and pull it up as you felt. The needles come in various sizes. I have a variety pack of small, medium, and large. I've found that the medium size needle fits best with the holder that I have. To use a holder, which is optional, you first find the opening that the needle fits in and slide it all the way through. You're going to need to use pressure to push it down and then match the hook to the indentation in the holder. Push it as far down as you can, then push the cap on and screw it shut tight. Now sometimes needles break, and that's okay. All you do is reverse these directions to replace your needle into the holder. Now that we've talked about the needles and the holders, there's one more tool I'd like to mention. Though I don't use it all the time, the rake is good for holding felt down while you're doing large sections. We've talked about the needles and the mat. Now let's talk about the wool roving. What I use is 100% wool roving, and this pack has nice neutral and earthy colors. This pack has lots of bright and fun colors. Now, these are some bins that I keep my wool in, which are a bit disorganized, but it's nice to have a big variety to work with. Next, you need to have a sheet of felt if you're going to be flat felting. This sheet that I ordered is 100% wool felt, and it's really nice because it has a thick edge and felts nicely. You can use the whole sheet, or you can cut pieces to make them smaller. Now we're ready to felt. First, I've cut my sheet to a small square and laid it down flat. Now I've picked out the colors that I'm going to use for the sky of my landscape. Today I'm going to be showing you a small sampling of that hummingbird landscape that we saw at the beginning. The first step is to take my wool and pull strands or wisps of it and lay them on top of one another. I consider this step painting with wool because I'm simply laying colors and mixing them by using multiple shades of blue. Now I'm adding some darker blues, purples, and grays into the bottom to create atmospheric perspective as if there's mountains in the background. Once I'm happy with how I've laid my wool down, it's time to start needle felting. When I take my needle and go up and down, it takes those microscopic hooks and pulls the wool up and binds it together. Notice that I tacked the edges down first so they didn't go anywhere. Then I went in a linear pattern to bind all of the pieces. You can go in any direction or design that you like. This is just how I prefer to work. Once I'm sure all of my pieces are down, there are lots of little dots, and I'm not happy with that look. So I take my fingers and gently rub to loosen some of those pieces up and make them look more natural. I'd like the mountains to look a little tighter and the clouds to look looser, so I rub the clouds more and tack the mountains back down. You can see that when I lift the sheet up, some of the color has gone through to the back. Now I'm ready to do the foreground. Laying down a few shades of brown, I've created a dark to light transition, and I'm ready to tack that in with my needle. I make sure all of my colors are tacked down as tight as I want them to be. Next, I'm removing my sheet because I'm going to be flat felting some shapes separately. This means that I'm going to create a cactus and some flowers separately and then go back and add them onto my landscape background. You can see that I've laid down colors as if I would when I'm drawing, and I'm felting them together. I'm felting a thicker and flatter shape than I actually want it to be because I'm going to be stuffing it with felt and sculpting it into a rounder shape onto my background. When I'm happy with how my shape looks, I'm ready to put it down onto my background. I found where I wanted to go, and by felting the edges nice and tight over and over, I can secure my cactus onto my background. Now I'm ready to create some flowers. I'm going to flat felt these two separately and then adhere them to the background once they're done. For the red flower, I've created a circle, flat felted it, and turned it, and then started to create a cup shape simply by pressing the center of the circle down more than the edges. I'll continue this method with other colors. For the final two flowers, I'm going to create some small daisy-like flowers with yellow centers and white edges. These I've made smaller and simpler because they're going to be further in the background. Now I need to decide where my flowers are going to be and how to lay them out so that they look good. Once I'm happy with my design, I need to again take my needle and press those into the background. Starting with the centers of the flowers, I make sure they're secure. However, I want to keep some of the petals of the flowers not tacked down so that they can pop up and look three-dimensional. Once I'm finished, I pull the entire sheet off of my pad and trim the edges. And there I have my felted landscape. I hope you learned a little bit about how to get started with felting, for example, the tools and materials we talked about, as well as the techniques. And if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe and like.